you're interviewing myself and my colleague Linda today.
You bet. How's it going today?
It's going really good. How about you?
Pretty good, pretty good.
I'm just going to merge the calls right now, just a second, okay?
Perfect.
Hey, Linda. Yeah. So I have Michael here on the phone.
I'm here.
Right on, so we're all together now.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to answer some questions through this qualitative study I'm doing on the current situation of hemp and becoming a hemp farmer. My name is Michael Walgrave. I'm conducting a qualitative interview for a Master's of Science in Sustainable Management through the University of Wisconsin. I currently live out in Portland, Oregon. I moved out here after getting a bachelor's degree in agribusiness from the University of Wisconsin River Falls. Decided to move out west here to see what was going on with the localized and sustainable industries that we're putting together. A little bit about me, I guess.
Are you from Wisconsin?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
How did you find us?
I was working for Star Route Farms. They sent me down to Monterey for the weekend and ended up meeting John and a whole bunch of other folk, and we was talking about hemp and had a class on hemp.
Great. Was this the past Eco Farm?
The Eco Farm in Monterey, it was 2013 I was down there, a couple of years ago.
Okay, because we were just at the one this past year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because we were at Eco Farm. We had a panel, and John was on the panel with us.
Nice.
You're in Portland now?
Yep.
I think he usually goes up to hemp stock there, doesn't he, Anna?
Yeah, and that's in, I think, September.
And we're going to be doing an event in Ashland on August 15th.
Awesome.
So if you want to put that into your calendar, the band will be playing, and we'll have our booths there.
Awesome.
Our interactive hemp booth, where we have a lot of materials for people to learn about hemp and what the end product can actually look like.
Cool. What are your thoughts on the hemp industry?
Sure. I'll just start talking a little bit about Hempstead Project Heart. Our mission as a nonprofit is to raise consciousness about the benefits of hemp for land-based people, to support localized industry for like a healthier kind of population and people. So it's kind of like a perspective on hemp that is more like a holistic. We look at it like earth medicine, that hemp can help rebuild the soil and also have economies that aren't going to, hurt the planet. So that's some of kind of our philosophy as just Hempstead Project Heart. We're a project of Earth Island Institute based out of Berkeley. So the majority of the events that we do are in California. And personally, I've been doing this for a few years. I've done some research up in Canada. I went to Humboldt State. And I have been volunteering with Hempstead Project Heart for a couple of years now, and I've been working with the hemp industry through the Hemp Industries Association, as well as Vote Hemp, doing different projects on basically grassroots organizing to just help people become aware of hemp, bringing it into their radar.
This is Linda here, and I've been involved with hemp probably around, I think it was I met John at the end of 2012 and got together with him in 2013 to start doing events together so we could promote hemp. And I really didn't know a whole lot about hemp, but I did know it as a fiber that was made illegal for reasons that didn't make sense to most people and only benefited very few for it to be made illegal. And so now, as I've learned more, and I have a background in green building.
Nice.
And that really interested me in hemp, because hemp is useful for green building because it has great value in structurally, and it's flame retardant and mold retardant, and it's breathable. So indoor air quality is is, what I'm looking for in a building material.
Yeah.
And so started getting interested in that, and we've been directing our attention towards the green building community. And sometimes we have John come and be with us, especially if we're on a panel, to where several people can discuss hemp from different angles. And we also show a film. We have a relationship with the director of a film called Bringing It Home. And we show this film to a variety of people, but it's pretty much focused on the building community because it really talks about hemp as a building material as being a really great financial boon for America.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much how I got involved and participated in the organizing and producing of a variety of the different events that we do and have done. And next month, we'll be at the California Straw Bale Association conference in Sonoma County here in California.
Nice.
And we're going to have a booth there. They invited us to come and be there because hemp and straw bale work together very well. And so everybody's looking at building materials that can be sourced locally and produced without harm to the environment, or at least the people that are interested in what we're doing. And of course, there are the people who are looking at hemp in other ways that is good for automobile industry and for producing clothing and fiber and food, etc. In our booth, we have samples of hemp for all of those different industries.
Nice.
And that's why we're building up ourselves to go around and bring our traveling roadshow basically with us to different conferences.
Nice. Are you ladies familiar with the triple bottom line?
Uh-huh.
Where I'm going with the question is that there is a lot of financial potential for this, but is there any recommendations in terms of, like, say, a cooperative business model or some sort of community building model?
Yeah.
A transition town, I guess that's...
Uh-huh. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the thing is to bring the economy to the people. You're familiar with Hemp History Week, and it's let American farmers grow hemp. So we're talking about having that rather than industrial farming that will want to get its hands on hemp seed and pollute it and genetically modify it. That small farmers can actually create a collective as they have in the past and grow hemp. And then you need processing plants. And
Yes.
how close to the farms would you say that isn't there like processing plants every couple of 100 miles that the farmers would be able to take their stalks to and their seeds, etc.?
Ideally, for processing hemp fiber, bales of fiber, you would want to do that within 100 miles of where it's grown, just because of the economics involved with the transporting this really heavy material, if you want to actually make it like a sustainable model.
Okay.
But yeah, ideally, hemp would function really nicely under a cooperative model. You'd have the regional farmers kind of clustered together where the hemp is going to be grown, and then you have your processing, and then your local industries or businesses that will contract the material and the seed, the fiber and the seed. Yeah, and they did that in the Parkland region up in Manitoba when in 1998 they started growing hemp again. The farmers had to figure out how to adapt the farming equipment to harvest the hemp. And so they had to do a lot of their own kind of research development, kind of entrepreneurial work. And so they formed the Parkland Industrial Hemp Growers Co-op.
Mm-hmm.
And through this co-op, the farmers would share information freely with one another on what worked, what didn't. They also worked with their local and provincial government to do projects to breed hemp varieties that were suitable for their region because they had to pretty much start from scratch.
Right.
And so farmers are going to benefit from the experience of the Canadian farmers, and then also there's going to be a lot of work that's going to need to be done at the regional level to, for example, start planting seed, breeding for their area. And also we're in a unique situation in Oregon and California and the states where we have a lot of marijuana production, is that there's going to have to be some sort of cooperative model between the marijuana industry and the hemp industry for zoning and for managing the pollen transfer of hemp.
Yep.
Because we know that, hemp and marijuana, they're both cannabis sativa and they're interrelated, so that's going to have to be managed. That's like in of itself an example of like just the amount of work that it's going to take to look at that exact issue just in of itself. And then you have all the other things to be developed. So there's a lot of opportunity for research to happen. So it's great, that you're working on this too. And so there's a lot of research that needs to go on, and also just developing the processing and manufacturing.
Cool. Yeah, I've been trying to follow along localized wool growing too, because it's kind of in the same game in terms of clothing production. And it doesn't sound like they've necessarily figured out the infrastructure, the logistics of where it goes once it gets out of the field per se. And definitely some questions to ask. Do you have a estimation on how things are moving along here? Is this going to unroll over next couple of years, next 10 years?
Well, California is a marijuana-loving state. It's been an industry for quite some time here, and hemp does not have the industry here like it has in Wisconsin or Kentucky or Virginia, and other states like that. Hemp has a long history there, hundreds of years. Whereas in California, marijuana has been a pretty strong industry too. Not that long, but we have a solid reputation as a great producer of marijuana.
Right.
So, I think that right now we have to write the rules ourselves. The economy is just going to write it itself. What is the best region to grow whatever? What does it look like? Where would hemp grow best in California? Some people say it would be way south, and not up north. And some people say it can be in the Central Valley, based on the fact that California is running out of water. It's like it's all a game changer. Hemp needs water. It doesn't need as much as cotton, but it's not a cactus. It needs water. So people are going to be looking at that.
Yep. Okay.
In terms of how quickly it's moving, there are some states that are putting their pedal to the metal way faster than California is. States like Kentucky and Virginia, and I believe Oregon too. What do you have to say about that, Anna?
My understanding with Oregon is that it is legal to grow hemp, and they are giving out licenses. But there's one guy, Edgar Winters, in Southern Oregon that got a license. But the issue is acquiring planting seed.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically just an overview of the political situation. So hemp is not legal at the federal level to farm commercially. It's legal at the federal level through the Farm Bill for research, and that's in states where the states have legislation that allow hemp research.
Okay.
And so there's like over 20 states where that is the case. Colorado is an exception in that they are doing some commercial production, trying to build local industry, and they are just gotten the green light through Colorado to not have to wait for federal permission to do commercial, but most of the states that are growing hemp right now, such as Kentucky, they are working through the Farm Bill, and that's for research only. And Kentucky did go through some issues being planting seeds. They had it held up by the DEA, but finally they got it turned over. But they do have some like high-profile political support in Kentucky, like Rand Paul, Mitch McConnell. So it is totally bipartisan. Republicans and Democrats are in support of hemp. Folks like Vote Hemp, that's a good website to check out for just legislative information. So that's votehemp.com.
Okay.
And you can click on any state, it'll tell you what the laws are.
Cool.
So Wisconsin, they have a lot of hemp legislation in place, so they're positioned really well. But basically, that's kind of an overview of the political situation. And there is the Industrial Hemp Farming Act, and that was introduced by Rand Paul, and that at the federal level would define industrial hemp and amend the Controlled Substance Act and allow states that have hemp legislation to move forward with commercial production. Because right now, hemp is not defined under the Controlled Substance Act. It's marijuana, basically.
Wow.
So finally, with the Farm Bill, hemp is at the federal level defined as something, but that's just for research. And so the Industrial Hemp Farming Act would get that cleared up.
So perhaps I could grow marijuana, or not marijuana, but hemp through the University of Wisconsin system, perhaps, as a project? Is that open to students, I would imagine?
Yeah, you could check with the university and start kind of doing some research of folks that could be interested in pursuing a project. And that would be working with the State Department of Agriculture in Wisconsin, and they would have to implement some sort of kind of framework to make that happen.
I also know that the market is what will drive this. So one of the reasons I believe why Kentucky got on the bandwagon was it was pretty well laid out that tobacco and cotton were done in the state, and that the hemp would phytoremediate their soil, and they could start growing for the automobile industry that's already doing well up and down the East Coast, so they don't have far to ship. And I don't know about the processing plants or whatever they got, but they certainly were the king, so to speak, of hemp. Lexington was the hub for hemp back in the day. So you're kind of, people are trying to go back to what, I'll just stay with this. It's the market. It will be driven by the market.
Yeah, and that's what the California Department of Food and Agriculture said to the Hemp Industries Association when they met with them a month ago. They said that they would be open to research happening, but the hemp industry will have to pay for it. So,
pay for what?
For research to happen. At the university representatives that attended that meeting with the CDFA and also the CDFA, they're like, yeah, we'd probably be okay with it, but you guys are going to have to pay for it. Basically, like, there's no budget. That's kind of a challenging part. But the hemp industry, just, your question, Michael, about just an overview of the hemp industry, it's definitely come a long way since 1998, which was kind of a watershed moment where Canada legalized it, and they went the route of health food and nutrition through the oil and the seed as well as body care. And so that has been the foundation of the hemp industry to grow to where it is now. It's over about $620 million last year in annual sales and imports of hemp products in the U.S. The fiber industry is still pretty small, and most of it's coming from China and France and Romania imports for the textiles and different things. But yeah, the hemp health food industry and the body care has really been moving it along. That's brought a lot of awareness to farmers in the U.S. and different people that want to see it grown here as well.
Do you know of any problems Canada may be having with the process? I mean, how did they get their seed to begin with?
Well, originally they went, for example, in Manitoba, which is the prairies right above North Dakota, they went out to the Ukraine and they got genetics from there. And then they started their breeding programs. And also they did some varieties from Finland. One of the popular ones is called Finola, and that's an oilseed variety.
Okay.
And they just kind of started breeding shorter hemp varieties and started developing cultivars and like pedigree, basically like certified seed. And they're very particular about who they give those genetics to in the U.S. It's not very easy to get a hold of hemp seed to plant in the ground right now.
Right.
But yeah, they've had no problems. It's very regulated. It's the most regulated crop. It's a very kind of bureaucratic thing because it is related to marijuana. They kind of treat it like a potential crime scene where every single hemp field has to be GPS coordinates. The farmer has to pass a background check. Every field gets tested to make sure the THC levels are within the appropriate level, which is 0.3% maximum THC, but often it's way less than that. And it's interesting because even though Canada is one of the countries that grows the most hemp, if you compare hemp to the other crops, it's about less than 1% of total acreage in Canada is hemp. So it's still really small, but it's growing. It was like over 68,000 acres last growing season. Farmers like it. It helps break disease cycles on their farm. They notice that it benefits. And they get about $200 to $400 an acre for certified hemp grain, which is like the final product grain. And if you compare that to corn or soy, they get about $160 an acre in the U.S. for corn or soy. So hemp definitely, has a higher price that the farmers will get, but they have to have a contracted buyer. That's one thing too with hemp.
Okay.
In the future, farmers have to be careful that they have someone that is going to buy their crops from them.
Okay.
Well, you've got companies like Nutiva here in California who buys a lot of their seed from Canada, and they're having a hard time keeping up with consumer demand for organic hemp seed because of the reasons Anna gave you and the fact that a lot of land is already dedicated to other oils rather than the hemp. Maybe there's some change going on where they're going to start reducing like the canola fields and start putting hemp in because canola is probably not the best oil there is, and hemp, because it's so high in omega-3s and omega-6s, etc., it has a higher value. And so once again, it's driven by the market. When people start to become more educated and start realizing that if they have a choice and they can get this or that for pretty much the same amount of money, and this will be more beneficial to their health, and it's not going to taste terrible, it will taste just fine, then they're going to go for that. And so this is all part of what HempFed does with how we educate people, because we are an educational nonprofit, on making smart choices that make sense.
Yep. Well, that is one of the most important things with the market-driven economy is having accurate information so the consumer can make good choices.
Yes, absolutely. And so for a company like Nutiva, having a hard time supplying their customers with the hemp seeds because they can't keep it up because they can't find the organic seeds to make their oils and their et cetera from. That's an interesting problem to have, especially with the United States still lagging behind rather than picking it up and saying, woohoo, boy, you've got it, here it is. It clearly shows that you're a small company, that you've gone through the roof in sales of this product. We could create jobs just by building the processing plants in and of themselves, putting farmers to work rather than having their fields lie fallow, lie empty, you know, that they can actually start growing a product that's going to pay them. You know, how many small farms do we lose every day?
Right.
And I really think too, and I'm not alone. I know that Anna does too. That boutique farming is a niche market in and of itself. I mean, if you were to compare the farms growing for McDonald's as opposed to the organic farms growing for Whole Foods, etc., you will find that the smaller farmers are spending less money on pesticides because the hemp doesn't need those pesticides, and organic foods don't either. So they're saving money there. And they're saving their seeds because, once again, the seed becomes GMOs and you're dependent upon Roundup, etc. So we're not just talking about simple stuff here. We're talking about a very complex system in place that we're basically here, in a sense, breaking the chain. And so hemp is a big, strong component in the chain-breaking element of things, where you're bringing it home and you're making a collective for small farmers who are actually making a living and healing the soil and creating products that are good for our health.
Do you have any recommendations in terms of trying to keep it in more of a cooperative family farm kind of style versus, you know, is big industry just going to come in and sweep up on all this, or?
It depends on the farmer, what the farmers are saying too, you know, educating the farmers. What do you say, Anna?
Some states have minimum acreage required for a license. I think it might be 10 acres in California for commercial. Some states it's more. So it might be a good idea for farmers to consider going in on combining their license together maybe, so that way they can, as they're building their seed or working to develop, they don't have to stretch themselves so far, like right away. They can partner with other farmers. I think that would be really smart as we're slowly building the industry. And then also, like, getting involved in the legislative process too, for example, allow farmers to be able to save some of their seed. Because some of the stipulation, when I think in Oregon, you should double check. I want to make sure this is accurate, but my understanding in Oregon is that farmers purchase seed through certain Canadian companies that they are not allowed to keep their seed. It's confusing whether or not it's for commercial or research. Like, if you're growing hemp for research, you won't be able to save your seed because it's not a commercial grow. So I think my advice is that farmers should really try to get involved with the legislative process or have representatives that can provide accurate information, because it varies from state to state. And honestly, like, I'm not completely aware of every detail in Oregon because there's so many things going on nationwide. But I do want to introduce you, Michael, to a guy named Chris, and he's in Oregon. He has a company called Oregon Hemp.
Great.
And he is really active in what's going on out there. So he can answer more specific questions probably, or help point you in the direction to get more of these detailed questions answered.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think you're on Facebook. I think I found you. Do you have a beard?
Yep, that's...
Okay, cool. So I will message you Chris's info so you can connect with him.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, he's in Oregon City.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll send you some links to a couple people in Oregon that you should connect with. One of them's Chris, and another one, her name's Courtney. And there is a Hemp Industries Association chapter in Oregon.
Cool.
And so these are some of the people that are really active and know what's going on out there. And it'd be really great, too, if you could share with me what's going on so I can understand, too, like keeping me in the loop about commercial versus research production, because I'm a little confused about how that's going down in Oregon.
Okay.
But I know Edgar Winters is the name of the farmer, and I think he's near Eugene area, southern Oregon.
Cool.
So, yeah, I'll send you some info
There's also really good reports that you can read. Like there's the CRS report, it's the Congressional Research Service report,
Okay.
really legitimate. And there's also the National Industrial Hemp Strategy out of Canada. I wrote a research paper at Humboldt, and there's a lot of good quotes from farmers and stuff in there. It kind of gives an overview of different interviews that I did.
Great. Awesome.
So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
And please like our page if you haven't already, our Hempstead Project Heart page.
Okay.
And tell your friends about it. And we also have these wonderful T-shirts that we promote through our website. The T-shirts were designed by John Trudell, and the T-shirt says "Think More, Believe Less."
Awesome.
And they are hemp T-shirts, and they look great. They help to support us because the whole point of us having this, I won't say it's the whole point of Hempstead is to do what we're doing with you today. So what you're researching now, what we're talking with you now, is to help you on a paper that you're writing.
Yes, you're laying the base for. I'll probably put together a survey based on this interview, just for one to maybe gauge where the average person's at with hemp awareness, and basically this is like the seed to this whole project was this conversation. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and Michael, feel free once you draft it to send it to me, and I can provide feedback for you.
Cool.
I can check it out and offer suggestions. Yeah, I'm totally. If you ever want me to edit anything or check anything out, I'm more than happy to help you out. So
Cool. Here's the question: how do you become a hemp farmer?
So how to become a hemp farmer?
How do you become a hemp farmer?
Well, it helps to have knowledge, a good foundation in farming. Specifically, we like to reach out to farmers that are doing sustainable practices. But yeah, talking to other farmers that have experience with hemp, researching hemp in different rotations and different processing techniques, and having an idea of what you want to grow the crop for. But yeah, there's a lot of farmers that are already doing, they're saying, incorporating hemp is a great crop to incorporate. But if you really want to hone in on hemp, it'd be a good idea to look at what other rotations that you want to do with it as well.
Okay.
Right. Well, you'd have to see what would grow best in your area. Is it best for you to be growing it for oil or for fibers? Are there other farmers who are doing that too? I would think that if you're a member of a local grange, that you would bring it up at your grange hall and see, test the water that way. Join a grange, absolutely. If you've got a grange in your area, join it. The granges are having a resurgence right now. And so there's a lot of people talking about, now that GMO products have kind of been, had a hold, a grip on American farmers, and that a lot of farmers can't afford to stay in the market based on that.
Oh.
So now our farmers that are looking into organic farming and what that would look like and what would be the crop that would pay the bills, and not just pay the bills, but would help them to thrive. So if hemp is a possibility in your area, how would they be able to do it if there isn't a processing plant? Would this be, and farmers are long-term people, so this isn't just like an overnight thing. If a farmer's actually going to do it as a crop that they're going to hand down to their son or their daughter or whatever, you're going to look at in your area and see how you're going to get this thing done in a way that the market will support. So I'm sure those conversations are going on in Kentucky right now, and I'm using Kentucky as an example because that, tobacco and cotton trashed. So they have to change things around, and maybe they're retooling those plants that were processing tobacco leaves to put, to make into cigarettes. So I don't know. I don't know enough about that. I'm just surmising that's a probability. But really, you're going to look at it like, how are we going to get this to the market? Who's the market going to be? And if it's going to be hemp oil, then you may have a company like Nutiva. I think Trader Joe's is going to start producing it, Whole Foods. There's a lot of people that are out there waiting. So they just have to be made aware that hemp is a good possibility for them.
Awesome.
And so how do you get, and those are the things. If I was a farmer, those are the best music for my ears. That I'm going to save my soil, that I'm going to save money on fertilizer. I'm not going to be beholden to a company like Monsanto who's going to sue me if I grow a field and they find their seeds on my I want to get out from under that reign of terror. So, you appeal to these people in this way. It isn't just dollars and cents. It's like more than that. It's like, just more than that. It's the ground on which you stand. That's considered sacred ground. Farming is an act, and thank God, without farms, no farm, no food. So, yeah, that's how I would definitely talk to farmers, dollars and cents.
And just like to go off of what Linda's saying, it is important for the farmer to have buyers lined up to be able to work. That's why the cooperative model is really probably a good way to go. That way you have different businesses in alignment with the farmers. That way they know that they can get a buyer, and that's going to be really important too.
Cool.
Yes. And they know that. They know that too, but if they don't know that they don't know what they don't know,
Right.
And that's where it's like, how do you get them to know? How do you bring that to their attention? Because, I'll bet you a lot of farmers will say, hey, my grandpa used to grow hemp. Or, yeah, my granddaddy, or whatever, or my father. But when I had no idea because I'm not from a farming background, not even close. And so since we've been doing our Hempstead events, and we talk to all kinds of people, hundreds of people come through our booth, and a lot of people joke and can you smoke it and this and that, but when it gets right down to it, it's always the same. Yeah, I knew somebody, my grandfather, my uncle, my cousin, my father, whatever, they all had a relationship, and it's closer than 6 degrees of separation. It's a lot closer. The people, it's in there, but they haven't had a chance or a reason to talk about it. So I really think that there's more of a groundswell than we realize. And there's more of American thinking of ourselves as being individualist. It's a way of appealing to people that we can get that back. And so if you have that market, if you know that there's a market, you start looking like what we have in our booth, and they're saying, this is made from hemp. You're kidding. We have, a snowboard that's made of hemp. That's a hemp plastic kitchen sink. You're telling me that we can grow hemp and create our own plastics? Are you serious?
Right.
This is what people, they get them excited, they get them motivated, and then they're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This is the truth. This is the human condition we're talking about. We're talking about humanity and a way for us to get behind something that is going to bring us home, basically. Bring it back home.
Awesome.
Cool, you guys. That sounds good. We better get going.
Again, I thank you.
You too.
Appreciate that.
Okay, thanks much, you guys.
Cool. Well, talk to you soon.
See you later.
Watch it.